kicked out of my near every bar around. I've been locked up for driving 120 through town. I've been shot at and cut with a knife, messing around with another man's wife. But other than that, we ain't nothing, just good old boys. Threw my boss out the window and got fired from my last job. Oh, hot wire to city truck.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wade and Carter Show. Ash, Brent, Commander, we're all here on a Monday. We all told you so Monday, it seems like, isn't it? But
hey, I'm so glad to be back here. Let me tell you something. My weekend last week started on Wednesday, and it was time to get back either here or to Phoenix for a couple of 2-day follow-ups.
Mark Kurtz, Ricky King, Judge Posey, good morning on the podium this morning.
The Wade and Carter weather brought to you by the great folks at AT Deerland Feed. For everything you need, there's Deerland Feed. It's 79 degrees in Victoria under mostly cloudy skies, heading to a high today of 91. Now, it's going to be
it's cooler than
breezy again. Imagine that, Cody.
We didn't have much wind on the weekend. You know,
just hot and
I don't know, but I mean, you know, when I could have gone golfing,
there was big wind, lots of hot air out there at that Calvin and Rena Shear celebration of their anniversary. Although, you know what,
celebration of life.
I was going to joke about that. No, I'm going to tell you the celebration of life. Hey, it's great if you can have your funeral while you're there. I mean, it's like being Joe Biden. How about though the wonderful, wonderful tributes that so many folks gave to our friends. I was very, very flattered to be included and very proud to be there for them.
Yeah, me too.
I do think they got it right that the secret to a happy marriage is that Calvin just does what Rena tells him to do. I think it works fantastic. You got to go with your strengths, right? I mean, I think it works.
That might be the first time in my existence in Victoria that I've seen Calvin without a ball cap. And I joked about it, and he goes, Rena told me I couldn't wear one.
Right there, you have it. And there's nothing wrong with it. And they looked wonderful, and they danced, and it was nostalgic and romantic. And I quickly figured out that if Dawn and I were to be married 50 years, that I would be 105. And it's not, you know, I don't know what to do with that. It's just, it falls in the category of not likely. There's your champion. Mark Kurtz is in. Ricky Champagne King, followed by Judge Posey.
We don't normally do this, but happy birthday to Ricky King.
Oh, happy birthday, Ricky.
They're letting him have another one?
We ain't giving you a cake or nothing like this. This ain't Brother Gary and Ralph.
No, we don't do that.
Welcome all our listeners on Magic 95.9. We love the mothership. Hope you guys had a great weekend.
Yeah, the last cake we gave went over so well.
Yeah, it was a big deal. It was a big deal. Saw Bobby Leister at HEB at the parking lot. He said, I asked him what he's doing. He said, my wife wants groceries. My wife wants groceries. You know that. It's just
because he doesn't want groceries.
It's the way it is. No.
There's Rena Scherer checking in.
Yes. Good morning,
Rena. Yeah.
Sweet lady.
And I will say this, Uncle Mutt's just knocked it out of the park.
Wow.
With the barbecue on Saturday night as well.
I put a post on Facebook.
Everybody's grabbing, and I'm sitting there going through the line. I'm watching everybody. They're all grabbing the lean brisket. I'm like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, just
because I love the fatty brisket. So there was lots for me to take.
But how many times have you been at a benefit or a party? It's hard. Don't get me wrong. If you ever go anywhere and eat catered food and go, that's the best meal I've ever had, then you were at a catering for like 4 people, because it's hard to cook food for 200-300 people.
Yeah.
But so many times you go places and you get one of two things: either really tough brisket that is almost being served like a roast. It's like in an au jus that goes on forever, right? And that's not good. This deal, Cody, they took the brisket out. They had a chafing tray, and they
look at you with your fancy
literally
words.
Slicing the brisket right there and putting it in the deal, and you're picking it up with the tongs, and it was moist and the flavor was fantastic. Unbelievable. And then they also had, I would call the chicken grilled, but it was probably put on one of those rotisserie smokers, right?
I didn't have the chicken.
I had the chicken. Everybody who had the fish will begin to get convulsions. No, I had the chicken, and it had the grill marks on it, but it wasn't rubbery or chewy or stringy. And you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I'm just telling you, Uncle Mutt's barbecue knocked it
There's
out
a
of the park.
joke when you do the convention meeting circuit of the rubber chicken dinners. This was not rubber chicken.
I'm telling you, if you haven't been to Uncle Mutt's in a while, get by there today because it's just fantastic.
Yeah. So,
I mean, Vera Cruz will make it until you go back on Tuesday or Caldo Wednesday. I was blown away. And this carnivore deal, I skipped the salad, but I got the green beans.
Yeah.
And I got the pickles and onions and all that. So I want to.
Here's the other thing. The people there were talking about the green beans like, those are very good.
They are.
And everybody said, you know why? They weren't soggy.
That's right.
They still had the little crunch to them when you ate them, which is why I like my
fantastic.
vegetables. I don't like
It was great.
Yeah, no, really.
Anyway, it's the party was even better than the meal, but the meal was great. And I felt like it was worth giving a shout out to the great folks at Uncle Mutt's
Katina
Barbecue.
and Jonathan, great job.
Yes.
There's Marvin Mickers checking in, Amanda King, Lisa Poole, Torrin Bales, Randy Langston, Scott Snow, Patrick Strauss. Good morning. He was drinking bourbon in Louisville over the weekend. Might still be for all I know. Micah Patton, Jordan Glass, Michelle Wilson Hawkins. I wonder if we're still big in Italy.
I think they're back.
Okay. Justin Glass, David Glass, Wendy Garcia. There's Jackie Parsons, Matt Boucher, Heather Stewart, Stephanie Connie.
Wow. What a
Sherry
group.
Jacobs. There's the bingo gang.
Yes.
Checking in. Tammy Keeling. Good morning. Monty Howard checking in from the Nevada Frontier. He warned me he wasn't going to be here.
Welcome in, Monty.
Hey, there's Stephanie Miller checking in from the YYC.
We got people from Canada, Nevada. I mean, this is awesome.
Italy. Dottie
Italy.
Bitterly.
How about Thursday night, May 22nd, where Friends Meet Friends, Palace Bingo.
Get there early, folks.
Yeah, get there early. First ball pops at 7:30.
Some fireworks.
There could be. I hope Palace is making note that we're coming.
Oh Lord, here they come.
Yeah. We go out there once a month.
I've gotten it on good authority that we were reported to the bingo commission.
Yeah, did you
last Thursday?
Stephanie and Sherry, listen, Junior, listen to this. This is a true story. I've had it on good report, solid report, that we as a Wade and Carter group were literally reported to some bingo commission over excessive noise. And I've had it stated to me
we're going to get a scolding
that I
am
going to get the stern reprimand. And I strongly suggest that reprimand be tempered. Strongly suggest, because Carter didn't do anything.
No, and he's not playing the victim here. And
I'm not playing some victim here.
We got. Actually, I don't even think we got officially told to shush. By the bingo caller.
No, there was a disgruntled lady over there. She happened to recognize me. Shame on me. And she turned and she said, "Shh." And I didn't know what the deal was. And I simply looked over my shoulder. She goes, "That's right, Carter," with that angry female voice, that menopause voice.
Her RBF was in full display.
I'm like, I didn't do a thing.
And that's what I said. I said, "You didn't do anything."
Yeah. So
her husband is the one that needs to go before the bingo commission. That's the first time I've ever heard an F-bomb dropped in the bingo.
Y'all need to shut the blank up. And I was like, whoa, I didn't even respond. I had Ash on one side. I had Dawn on the other. They both had their hand on my leg. I think they were holding hands over my legs. And I was like, I've got nothing to say to that. What's so interesting
and what's funny is
the lady was sitting from me to you in front of the guy. She could literally see the ball. And there's a TV screen right behind him that puts the ball up there about this big. And then she still disgruntled with us and singled me out, and I didn't do anything. And I'll tell you what, that angry menopause voice, Carter, and the face was all torqued up. I didn't know her.
Maybe on Thursday, instead of playing, you should live stream it.
Well, I tell you what, there you go. Junior says that was uncalled for, and she had a bad Karen moment. Well, in typical litigious and immature fashion, that individual that I don't know, I'm not calling anybody out, I don't know her. She decided to make a phone call. And the next thing you know, and I know.
Oh, I'm sure she didn't mention that her husband yelled out for everybody in the whole bingo hall to hear. including the blue hairs who might have been offended by the F-bomb he dropped. I bet you she left that out of the conversation.
Yeah, she didn't tell anybody that her husband was cussing, and he weighed about $130. That's why I didn't even say anything to him. I go there and twist him into a pretzel. But at the end of the moment, it's gotten back to me. Which bingo commissioner, which by the way, the bingo commission is made up of people that receive the donations from Palace Bingo, and I can show you on paper, we cash flow for Palace Bingo. I promise you, they make about $1,000 a night every time we show up. And that's if Bob Constantine doesn't come. So I would be very, very careful how you approach Wade and Carter about this incident. Very careful. Yeah, and by the way,
no need to approach us.
I've run into all the people that are involved in this quote unquote reprimand, and none of them have said a word to me about it.
Oh, they're off the clock.
Well, they'll be on the clock. You can bet on it on Thursday night. Because I didn't do a thing. No. And I've done enough stupid stuff in my life that I was like,
well, that's why you got lumped in, guilty by association.
Yeah, Junior.
Your reputation preceded.
I think it was Stephanie Conti and probably Sherry making some noise down there.
I think they were laughing at the fact that
we split
45 people split $150 pot and got like $2 each. Yeah, no, it was ridiculous.
Yeah. It's once a month, people. Can't you have some fun once a month?
No.
And most Thursdays when we're there, we're half the crowd.
Absolutely. It's like that deal when Nick Saban is your VRBO host and he's like, no kids, no pool, no fun. And don't take anything but a 5-minute shower. This is not a retreat, not a spa.
Exactly.
I love it. It's all fun. It's all fun and games. I'll take the heat for this team of folks. And to be honest,
you did yell the loudest bingo I've ever heard.
Well, that's because I was like, yeah, I did. I said, are you ready for this? Bingo.
Passion.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with passion.
No.
I didn't yell bingo at the inappropriate time. By the way, I went on their webpage. You can go to it, palacebingo.org. There's 14 rules. Not one of those rules says you will be quiet. At the very end, the 14th rule says any other issues will be dealt with by management. Didn't say anything about any bingo committee, the bingo mafia. Tell you what.
What would be the equivalent of kissing the ring of the bingo mafia?
We'll start doing a little digging into how their 8-liners play out.
Kiss the bingo balls of the bingo commission?
Absolutely.
Bring a cheeseburger up.
Oh, they have the best food out
What's
there.
the number one rule? Don't call false bingo.
That's it.
Don't bear false bingos.
That's right.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Oh, I have, Linda.
We have had that happen.
Yeah.
We've been right in there in the 30s.
I've split now with 35 people once and now 40, whatever it was, 45 people. That was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I ain't getting rich going to Palace Bingo.
No. So that official word.
Start playing the 8-liners maybe. Then I might win some money.
There you go. Well, we can dig as deep as the public wants us to dig.
Speaking of which,
to dig.
Let's take our first break. Then let's get into what you and I have said for a long time.
Oh, I hate it when we have to say, told you so. USA Concrete Coatings. Sand it, seal it, stain it, paint it. I went out on the Parade of Homes this weekend in a brand new, beautiful home built by Brigade Homes.
Best craftsmanship and stuff.
Yeah, and they had not stained, they just had sealed concrete flooring. So it's extremely hot right now, extremely trendy, and it was beautiful. We went out there and checked that out. USA Concrete Coatings can do that for you. They can sand it, seal it, stain it, paint it, whatever you want done. They can put down a tough as nails polyurethane coat. They won't crack, stick, peel, or fade. Call them for all your concrete needs. They can level it. They can seal the cracks. All the things that you're like, oh, I hate my driveway. They can fix it. Veracruz Restaurant, just quite simply the best Mexican food in town. The best. If you use them for your catering, they'll bring the fajitas, but they also bring the queso, the hot sauce, the guacamole, all of which are the best in town. All of which are the best in town. Get by Veracruz today. Allen's Wrecker Service. Allen's for all your towing needs. fantastic. They're just the best of the best of the best. You need a vehicle to get from here to there. You need to get a vehicle delivered to a job site. Allen's does it every day. They're the best of the best. Paravita Wellness, get in and get healthy. Let Paravita help you get healthy. I mean, Kevin Langer says that's a huge gavel. Well, thank you, ma'am.
You need it for your bingo, Karen.
Is that a huge gavel? Or are you just glad to hear from us? That is from the Texas House of Representatives.
Do you think we can get a dauber that size?
Yeah, well, tell you what, I've got some daubers. There you have it. Atzenhofer and Atzenhofer.com. I was thrilled last week with my service at Atzenhofer. You can be too. All makes and models. Just get in and let them help you keep your vehicle on the road. And if you get in there and they go, well, transmission needs some work. Well, what do you give me for it? They'll buy your used vehicle and they'll help you get into a new one. At the same time, if it's a great car, they'll clean it up, service it, put it back on the lot. If it's tired and worn out and you're like, they gave me $2,000 for that, I'll take it.
They'll sell it.
They'll sell it off at the auction. Only the best of the best remain on the Atzenhofer lot. So let me set the motion for you.
Please.
Ash and I, way back when, way before the national pundits had the courage to tell you, we told you that Joe Biden would not be the Democratic nominee for president. We told you he wouldn't be. We told you. Everybody scoffed. Are you kidding me? He's beating Trump, blah, blah, blah. So then they force in Kamala Harris and they say this in effect. If you don't vote for Kamala, you hate black people and you hate women. But if you want to be a racist bigot, vote for the orange man. America overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump. So she's out. Nobody has ever been closer to being president on two fronts. Number one, he was mentally incapacitated. Jake Tapper has a new book coming out tomorrow or on the 20th.
It's tomorrow.
And remember that. There's a new book coming out tomorrow
by Jake Tapper,
who's
of
a CNN liberal, who said, hey, man, there is a massive cover-up in our government about Joe Biden's unbelievable and unquestionable and documented cognitive decline. So that book's coming out tomorrow. It is not a coincidence that over the weekend, Friday, it's always on Friday, the Biden administration lets out of the bag, oh, Joe had a nodule on his prostate. When we look at it, it's metastasized into bone cancer.
So New York Times runs an article first about what that could mean. No alarming the public, no alarmist rhetoric, nothing. Well, it could be this, it could be that. It doesn't necessarily have to be cancer. That's the first story they run, right? This is completely
could be nothing.
Could be nothing.
But now it's like, oh, it's metastasized. Torrin Bales jumps to the punchline. The leftist media was part of the cover-up. Key word being cover-up. There is an undeniable.
Jake Tapper was part of that cover-up. Now listen to his book, Original Sin. President Biden's decline, its cover-up, and his disastrous choice to run again.
No doubt about it.
I'm curious if Jake Tapper is going to call out himself and his brothers and sisters in the media and his employer, CNN, for their role in this cover-up, because the media was complicit.
Yep.
And I'm not blaming the presidential doctor, because you can't go out there and say
that's a HIPAA deal.
Well, but even if it's not, you want the U.S. to look weak on the world stage. The doctor ain't going to come out with anything other than, oh yeah, president's healthy as a horse every time.
Patrick Strauss says the new left talking point, we're looking forward. I'll get to that in a minute with a Donald Trump quote. But what's interesting to me is they are so once again, they are using Joe. They are making Joe a victim by shoving out this obvious deflection. It's a deflection. It's for you to go, leave him alone. He's an old man. He's dying of cancer. He can't die quick enough for the Democrat Party. He can't die quick enough for the Democrat Party. Donald Trump last week quoted, they asked him, what he thinks. It wasn't about Joe Biden. They asked him, what do you think about the Democrat Party? The president said, well, they've got that Pete Buttigieg. He can't get his name right. He doesn't want to get his name right.
Not even trying.
Pete Buttigieg. He goes, I mean, Trump just says the dude rides to work on a bike with his husband on the back. It's really romantic. It's a loving relationship. He goes, they got him and they got Jasmine Crockett. He goes, are you kidding me? He goes, I'm not worried about that party. I'm not either. The Democrats, I wouldn't be surprised at all, Ash, to see the Democrats rename their party, the new Democrat Party. I mean, I'm not joking. Just come on out and be socialist. Come on out and say, are you better off than you were 5 years ago? Black person in Detroit.
How can anybody on the left, centrists who watch CNN, center left, more left-leaning, socialist communists, well, I can understand why they still trust the media because that's their propaganda.
It's their media.
But I'd like to know how anybody can now trust the mainstream media when they were so obviously involved in the cover-up, if not involved, complicit enough to go, there's nothing wrong with him falling off a bike when he's trying to coast down a hill.
He was falling off that nodule. Kathleen Leininger says Jake Tapper attacked anyone, see Laura Trump, who put a spotlight on Joe's dementia and mental decline. So this is a conflict of interest. And I told Ash before the show, for those of you that are old enough to remember this, the magical summer when Sosa and McGuire literally saved baseball with this tremendous home run race. Baseball was in decline. The games took too long. It was boring.
Nobody was watching
there
it
were
on
no
TV.
great superstars. And Sosa and McGuire went on this 69, 70, 71, those huge binge of home runs, and they saved baseball. And we all knew, even the most casual sports fan could look at the unbelievable acne on Mark McGuire's neck and stuff. And like, the dude's on steroids. I mean, he looks like Secretariat in the batter's box. There was no doubt about it. Everybody knew
More
the guy
like
was
Lou
on the
Ferrigno.
juice. But here's the deal. The very pundits and authors and writers that wrote and covered that and waxed eloquent about how great these guys were, the very next year condemned them. They should be banned from baseball, blah, because it was like, the king is dead, long live the king. And it's just tragic. And the media turns and eats their own. Good morning, John Anderson. And I look at it and I go, this deal, Jake Tapper has been on both sides of this issue. He has defended Biden relentlessly. And I honestly don't know if the book is a cleansing of his soul. And I mean that sincerely.
No, it's a money grab.
Okay.
Plain and simple.
Jennifer Rayburn, you're correct. She says, I always give a big nod to Cal Ripken Jr. for a piece of saving baseball. Consummate gentleman, great ball player. I remember watching Junior when he still had hair, and they said he was too tall to play shortstop. I'll never forget.
We're talking about Junior Samples?
No, Junior
No,
Samples,
no.
he was more of a first baseman, way too slow of foot. Yeah.
Here's the other thing with Joe Biden. You're not going to convince me that Joe Biden didn't have prostate cancer his whole time in office.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
if he's getting the physicals every single year like he supposedly was,
It didn't pop up and metastasize in 4
No.
months.
his PSA levels in his blood would have shown something to be at this point now.
Well, the reality is,
And they always tell you, well, the PSA test isn't exactly, isn't always accurate. Bull crap when it's like this.
yeah, when
It's going to be very accurate.
what's your score? 200. What's a good range? 4 to 6. I mean, you got
Yeah.
problems. But Joe apparently said something about having a slow moving cancer back in 22 in an interview, and mentioned it. Like you don't ever slip up and misspeak and say, I've got a slow moving cancer. I mean, nobody does that. Either you've got cancer or you don't. And apparently there's an audio clip out there of Joe talking about, well, I've got a slow moving cancer. We're battling it. It's going to be fine. It's under control. And it may have been, but now it's metastasized into his
bones. Yeah.
But I'm not convinced that he found that out. Yeah, you're right. Linda Chris points out prostatic cancer is slow moving. It doesn't just show up, but it's very plausible that he had it in 22, knew about it in 22, and just now has it expanded. The thing is, the Democrats want him dead. They want him dead because if Joe's dead, then you can say it's much ado about nothing. You're chasing a ghost. Let the man rest in peace.
Yeah. Listen to the reviews of this thing. The most significant book to date about Biden's cognitive decline.
From a liberal source, The Atlantic.
What other books have come out about it?
Yeah. To date.
You wouldn't report on it, The Atlantic?
Right.
Superbly reported. Reads like Shakespearean drama on steroids, according to the Los Angeles Times. Until your new owner bought the Times, you guys were as in bed with the Biden administration as any of them, because your new owner is sort of a centrist. All the reporters of the LA Times quit when the new owner took over. Remember that?
And the fact of the matter is, nobody.
Or it might have been because he's Asian and they're racist. I don't know.
There's no way that you could cover that administration every day and not know. We cover it every day from afar. And we were like, Joe gaffed again.
The book Biden allies fear the most, according to Politico. Why? He's gone.
Yeah.
This was the news that Biden's allies feared the most when he was in office.
But now you've got to look at the party as a whole, though. How much did Kamala know? You don't think that Kamala she always said, I'm the last one to leave the room. Junior points out correctly, until Biden dies, he's a liability, because he has those moments of cognizance where he could destroy what's left of the Democrat Party. Peter McNally says, leave it alone. Enough is enough. Peter, I'm not surprised. When the left gets exposed, the left says, oh, come on, there's nothing to see here. There's nothing to see here.
This is huge. The people involved in this cover-up should be charged with treason. Screw the January 6th, folks. This is treasonous. You lied to the American people. Oh, wait, the Democrat Party's been doing this since FDR. They hid the fact that he had polio. Not that was
a reason hard to hide, but he was in that wheelchair.
Well, but they denied it. They did everything they could to look. I mean, nobody really knew until after. Yeah. No, this is blatant. Now the auto pen, we find out he may not have been making the decisions.
No, Jill was making the decisions. And Mr. McNally, with all fairness, your credibility rating with us and our listeners will soar when some event happens and you say to us, I agree, that's terrible. That should never have been purported onto the American people. That is when we will know that you're on top of your game, because it's not fair. It's just not right that when the left blatantly screws up, blatantly lies to the American public, that the left says, leave it alone. Enough is enough. At the same time that you're like, well, Donald Trump's got 400 lawsuits against him. Donald Trump is a felon. He's a rapist. That's all bull crap, and you guys know it.
Well, now you look back and you realize that the Democrats are basically narcissists and gaslight
100%
everybody, because the only one who probably everything they accused Donald Trump of doing,
they've done
it. Absolutely.
There is no Democrat Party. If you're counting on Hakeem Jeffries, Jasmine Crockett, and Pete Buttigieg to somehow beat J.D. Vance and me, you're a loser. Let's take another
They
quick
did
break.
everything they could to keep a cognitively declined, supposedly duly elected president in power so that people who weren't elected could be making the decisions.
And then manipulate Kamala in an unelected role to be unchosen role to be the presidential candidate.
That to me is what's treasonous.
Amen. They propped him up. They talked about it midterm. Should we invoke the 25th Amendment and have him removed? And Kamala's going, yes, yes, yes.
That's why they yelled so much to have it invoked on Donald Trump.
That's
because they knew their leader was, they wanted you to look over here and not over here. And now Jake Tapper, for whatever reason, probably needs a paycheck because CNN's ratings are tanking and they may not even be around in a year.
Yep. And he was supposedly duly elected. There's no way. You go back and look, 74 million votes, 76 million votes, 81 million votes, 74 million votes. It was a big lie. It was a big electronic scam purported by foreign dignitaries. Went electrical, went services, went for all your generator needs. Look, you don't know what's going to happen on the grid this storm season. Be prepared. Let them come out and put in an American-made Generac generator, turnkey service. You go to work, you come home, you've got peace of mind. It raises the value of your home. I know when I see it, I go, wow, those people are pretty committed to their house. It's a great time to make that investment in your house. A lot cheaper than a pool. Reach out to Went Services. Chesnick Furniture Company. Chesnick and Love make your house a home. Get in today, this week. See why you just always do better at Chesnick.
You'll always do better.
Bobby Leon and his family, they are fantastic to deal with, and they want you to have, whether it's new bedding, Sealy Posturepedic, Stearns & Foster, Tempur-Pedic, whether you need appliances, whether you want best recliners, best sofas, a new love seat. They have rugs, they have furniture, other furniture. Get in. For every room in your house, Chesnick is there for you. White Trash Services and White Trash Site Services. Saw the Nelsons this weekend, as we often do. They were out being supportive. White Trash Services, 550-1826. If you live in the county, you need to get the Torn Bales White Trash Services report. Their service is exquisite. They show up on time. They show up when they say they're going to be there, and they do a great job. The office is at 205, where we are now. Come down and see us. You're always welcome to walk in. Walk in, tell Cody who you are. You can get on the air with us. We're not bogarting the airwaves. Maybe. That's true. That's fair. Maybe. But like if P. Strauss came down.
Oh, yeah.
He's in. He's on. I mean, we want, especially if he brought Lori, his teenage bride. We'd love to have him. Get him to, it's early for him. You know, Patrick is retired now.
I know.
He's probably watching us in a pair of PJs, silk with his initials on his lapel.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
That little piping on them.
Working a
smoking jacket.
Frappe latte.
It's looking like Hugh Hefner.
Right. Exactly.
I am P. Strauss.
I can picture it. It says P. Strauss on the back, all caps.
like Muhammad Ali.
Right. P. Strauss. He's got a belt. In fact, it's like a championship belt. Yeah. Tell us about the chopping block.
Yeah. This weekend's Memorial Weekend's coming up. Memorial Day weekend. They've got everything you need for your barbecuing this weekend, whether you're going to be in a competition or just cooking for friends and family. Rosewood Ranches, Texas raised Wagyu beef briskets, Snake River Farms Wagyu briskets. They got Prairie Fresh ribs, whole fresh young chickens, everything you need for this weekend. They've got the meats. So if you're going to be cooking and you need meat, get over there. Always fresh, never frozen. Their price on the Wagyu is really
This is a serious question for you. I'm curious.
Throw some boudin on the pit.
What you really believe. I mean, like if you say, no, but I mean, what you really believe. If you go back and look, so Obama gets elected with like 74 million votes, Massimino, 75 million, Massiminos. Then Trump gets elected with like 75 million votes, Massiminos. And then Biden gets elected with 81 million votes. And the trigger for me was, you're telling me that Joe, the 3-time rejected Democrat loser that he was, somehow got more votes than Barack Obama,
who until then the left said was the most popular president ever.
He's the most popular president ever is what the left said about Barack Obama. And Biden gets this 81 million votes, and then we have the most polarizing election in the history of our country. You're either for the old white man, or you hate blacks and women, especially black women, even though Kamala's not really black. I mean, she's got some in her, but apparently she's had a lot in her, but that's not the point. And then you over here, you've got or you vote for Kamala. When I try to find the common ground, how does Joe Biden
and they didn't show up in those numbers for this election either.
President Trump wins with 76 million votes. The anomaly, here's the line, and then boop, and then it's like, here's the line. That just tells me all those votes were fake.
Yeah, there was some skullduggery.
There's no doubt about it. There's no, especially when Trump was alleging it. And by the way, I sent you a list a while back. Check. Conspiracy theorists versus what the media said. Remember that?
Yeah, let me see if I can find
it. I think it was probably right there.
Because here's the other thing that broke this weekend. CNN yesterday, in advance of all this stuff coming out. How people get sucked into believing conspiracy theories.
Oh, yeah, because we believe a lot of conspiracy theories. Read the conspiracy theory, and I'll tell you if the conspiracy theorists were right or if the Main Street media was right.
Hunter's laptop.
The conspiracy guys were right. It was Hunter's laptop.
Remember how the New York Post ran with this story? And they were the only one with the guts to run it amongst the media sources. And then you could not share their stories on Twitter at the time. It was
against the rules.
You couldn't share their stories. They were being squashed on Facebook.
Yeah.
Google was not allowing you to search for them. If you wanted to find anything on the New York Post on the Hunter Biden story, you had to go to like DuckDuckGo, because Google and Safari and all the other browsers weren't letting you.
Yep. What's the next one?
mRNA vax harm.
Well, they've all said now that those mRNA vaccines can do harm and did lead to enlarged hearts, even though at the time that was like we were just.
Well, there's always been they haven't really collaborated it, and it's probably because they don't want to study it. But boy, there seems to be a growing response anecdotally anyway, among people who had cancer and being vaxxed. And you got to wonder with 18 million time vaxxed Joe if that played a role. Yeah. And all of a sudden his prostate cancer.
If you're old and have cancer, the government really wants you dead. You need to know that. Don't trust them giving you a vaccine.
The plandemic. Yeah, this one's still a little. Yeah, parts of this. Yeah.
Well, so I'll ask you the question: do you think that we know now that the plandemic was not part of bat stew in a Wuhan market?
Yeah.
We do know that it was a created virus that was leaked at the very least irresponsibly out of the Wuhan lab, more likely spread among some of our military people and all of that. So what's the next one?
Ivermectin efficacy.
Yeah, everybody now is starting to understand that ivermectin in small doses, recommended doses, apparently is good for you on a number of fronts.
Well, there's some doctors out there doing studies that apparently ivermectin in large doses actually does some wonders against certain types of cancer as well.
But at the very least, it's not going to hurt you, and it's not a wife's tale.
Hydrochloroquine efficacy.
Same thing.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I'm not 100% convinced
I don't care
on
about that one.
Face masks useless.
Well, everybody agreed. Dr. Fauci agreed that it was, you can put one on, two on, maybe put two on. Yeah. They're not doing anything. The N95 mask did absolutely nothing. And I still have people in town, and you know who you were. You'd see me at HEB and go, "Where's your mask?" I go, "I don't need one. You've got one. You look great."
Russiagate.
Your breath stinks. Enjoy it. Russiagate, no doubt about it. I mean, it was the Democrats that had the Steele dossier and all that.
Well, that's the next one on the list, the Steele dossier.
No, there's no doubt about it. It was paid for. Hillary, thanks.
54 FISA judges signed off on that sucker or whatever.
Yeah, they couldn't wait, and they were all leftist idiots. They all signed
CIA
off on
operatives signed off on it, so the FISA court judges would give the warrant for it. And then the Ukraine corruption.
I don't know enough about that. I know there was some corruption in Ukraine, but I can't,
Tomorrow, the whole show should be this. Just him saying some corruption and you saying, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I don't find anything in there that you would go, well, the right was wrong. Here's the thing you got to know.
But if you believed any of that, which we did most of it, you were called a conspiracy theorist.
Well, and the thing is, Donald Trump, love him or hate him, he was right on every one of them. He said, that's Hunter's laptop. Well, we don't know that. We've got a court injunction to keep you.
You can't believe the New York Post. They're a tabloid.
It's a tabloid. And Trump's like, okay, they just the only ones that had the guts to tell the truth. He was right way back when, the China virus. Remember that China virus?
Well, he was a racist for banning flights, right?
Yeah. But
And
then
now
he
in
didn't do enough.
But
Then
now
he
in
didn't do
hindsight, that's what they said. Wow, if we would have banned the flights from China earlier, we might have been ahead of this thing.
Yeah.
Well, you lied. You didn't let us. You didn't admit that it was coming from China. I don't know why. Why did the government lie about the origins? Why, when
a lot of those folks are in bed with the Chinese, Mitch McConnell. They're in bed with the Chinese. Oh, speaking of, I haven't told you this yet. I'm doing everything I can, sort of. I haven't really spent a lot of time on it. I'm going to do a lot. I'm about to reach out to Ken Paxton and get him on the line. Paxton apparently leading every significant conversational poll about beating John Cornyn. And I just can't think of anything better on the planet than John Cornyn not being our senator. I think that's fantastic.
I've talked to a few people that think he's a very nice guy.
I have too, and I'm sure he is a nice guy. But he's a rhino at best. I think he's a closet Democrat. So,
how about all the things that happened over the weekend? And I wonder if Biden. Maybe I don't know. Maybe.
Why is this funny to me? A Mexican Navy ship crashed into New York City's Brooklyn Bridge Saturday, killing 2 sailors and injuring 19 others.
The video of this was harrowing because, apparently, they're up in the masts while this thing's sailing.
Oh no!
And it went under the bridge.
It was a sailboat. The Mexican Navy has a sailboat.
Well, but the sails weren't. I think it can sail, but it also has power. Yeah.
It's the Mexican Navy has a sailboat.
Yeah.
Well, that tells you right there, they're pretty much counting on America preserving.
No, it's
ceremonial,
more or less. Yeah, they take it around the world, and it's become a tourist attraction.
Oh, here it is. I see what you're saying. There are people like, oh, look, it's coming right at us. Oh man, and they drag it all underneath the bottom of the bridge. That's tragic, and you always hate any loss of life. That's terrible, but. It's to me the humor of the Mexican Navy. Yeah, Mark Zepeda points out, and you're 100% right, sir. He says John Cornyn's already started negative ads. That's exactly how you know that he knows he's coming up good. You're gonna hit the dot.
People are hanging on these.
What is going on?
The mask.
Oh, what? You don't want anybody.
And I mean. They'd have been fine over here. I don't know what happened. I went this part over here.
The bridge is shaking out there.
Us underneath.
You gotta keep moving.
Bonnie Harris says we have the USS Constitution. So yes, absolutely. We don't need to defend it. I didn't know that. Okay. I didn't know that. I really don't think Mexico has much of a navy.
I think I'm not too sure.
That was really the
what
point.
they all do.
It's an Indian.
What about Puffy? Does anybody care about Sean Combs
No.
anymore? No. He's probably
unless something really comes out of this thing. That's going to be a bombshell from what we've already heard or not heard.
I'm just going to read. I haven't seen it. Ventura is the lady. I think her name's Cassie. That was Casey. Maybe I don't know that. She's like 8.5 months pregnant. So listen to this. In a particularly arresting moment on the stand, she described an episode in which Diddy Combs, who said she was the sole director of freak off activity, told an escort to urinate on her. It was disgusting. It was too much. It was overwhelming. I choked. There couldn't have been anything on my face that was reading that I wanted to be doing that. I was kind of just laid on the floor in a position that I couldn't easily get out of. So were you able to tell the escort to stop? The prosecutor asked. I just kind of put my hands up, and eventually Sean saw and he told them to stop. The key point here is not that there were gross and disgusting things going on. It's that the freak off itself is undeniable. It's undeniable. And
then he apparently, allegedly forced people to do things against their will.
Yeah, well, and they also apparently, remember this was several years ago, slipped people roofies and then videoed them doing things that were unnatural. And the next thing you know, he's literally got people's careers in his safe. I need you to.
And I mean, in a case like this, what do? You're gonna tell P. Diddy no that you don't want anybody peeing on you, and then you're out of a job.
Right.
You're in your 20s.
And we would all say, sure, that's what I would do. But when you're an escort basically for a living and you're hanging out with Diddy and you might be getting $100,000 to do this.
Yeah.
It's almost like you have to kind of squint to make her a victim, but she can still be a victim as well. And he can definitely still be breaking the law.
Yeah. So
in about an hour,
Joe Biden. And I mean, the fact he has cancer, one thing, right? The fact that they've downplayed the cover up to this, except in a book, and maybe that's why CNN isn't really doing a whole bunch on that, because they want Jake Tapper's book. Maybe they're getting a piece of the book. Maybe they funded the book. I don't know. Maybe they're hoping that the ratings for people tuning in to watch Jake Tapper on CNN will help push their ad rates up. But why is this not getting more coverage and play than it is? Because it should. And we're guilty of it.
Enough is enough. That's what the left is saying. And the media is the left.
They don't want this war to end. They want the continuing funneling of money to Ukraine to go on in perpetuity. Because Donald Trump, our president, is fixing to sit down with Vladimir Putin this morning in about an hour.
Yeah. 10
and
o'clock
then
Eastern.
after that, he's going to have a phone call with Vladimir Zelensky. So he's going to talk to both sides of this.
I still think Ukraine is really, really playing cards they don't have, to quote the president, to believe that Russia's just going to go, okay, King's X, we'll go home. It's just not going to happen.
Should it happen? Absolutely.
It should happen. If there's justice, it should happen. But if at this point, if Donald Trump can secure Putin's word on an extended ceasefire until negotiations are complete, then he ought to be able to get a concession from Zelensky that says, I'm willing to give up X, Y, and Z in order to end this war. If Zelensky thinks that his Oscar moment is to somehow win this war, he's just going to die a lonely little man, because Russia will not allow him to, quote unquote, win this war. A win for him is for the bully to quit beating him in the face, and for the people that live there to have an opportunity to live. Because Putin does not care. He will keep killing people. Peter McNally says, your material is trash today. Talk about the real news, baseball, golf, etc. I don't see how.
That's the real news?
Yeah, I don't see how that's the real news. John Paul says that's a tough turn from Diddy to Biden. I don't see how that's not the real news. I mean, I think the most important news today is the fact that this book is coming out tomorrow.
The administration lied to the American people for 4 years about the competency of our president.
If it was a Republican, I can think of 2 or 3 people who are always here who would be going, what about Trump? What about Trump? What about Trump? One little piece of news to share along is that Scotty Scheffler goes ahead and wins the PGA championship by 5 strokes, 11 under to 6 under.
John Rahm made a bit of a push, and then he found water on a late hole, and I think that did him in.
Yeah.
Tornbale says it's only trash because we're pointing out the failures.
Absolutely.
Of the left. Absolutely.
Harris English shoots 6 under.
He made up like 34 spots.
He shoots 6 under to end the tournament 8 under. And I know that Scotty Scheffler went to Texas. And I believe Harris English also played golf at Texas. So very nice. Oh, Nelly, we got a burner at Quail Hollow, whatever it's called today. Astros update brought to you by the First State Bank of Louise, the friendliest little bank anywhere. Big enough to get it done, small enough to know you by your name. The Astros split the series at Texas. They win 2 and lose 2, and that's not bad on the road.
No, they
couldn't take their wire and their trash can.
They win 4-3 yesterday.
They win 4-3.
And they still are, well, they're 2.5 games back. I think they went to the weekend 1 game back of Seattle, but Seattle won 3 in a row, and the Astros and the Rangers 2.5 back of the Mariners in the AL West. Quick NHL hockey half-minute. Stanley Cup playoff action. Saturday, Jets beat the Stars in overtime. Power play goal early in the overtime, win it for the Dallas Stars.
Did you see where the guy Ben,
Jamie Benn,
just dropped a guy? Like, they throw gloves a lot. It's entertainment, right? It makes it fun.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting that there was one punch thrown, and the guy from the Stars, like, cold cocked this guy. And they gave him I don't know, he got like a minute and a half in the penalty box. 10 minutes, I think he had to
I feel
sit out.
bad for Mark Scheifele. Earlier on Saturday morning, he found out his dad passed away.
And then he got knocked out?
No, he played the game for Winnipeg. Scores Winnipeg's only goal to give him a 1-0 lead, but was in the penalty box when Dallas scored the power play goal in overtime. But he had no choice, because if he doesn't trip Sam Steele, Steele's on a clear break.
And that's what led to the fight?
No. I don't know what happened.
Is that when he hit him?
Ben. I don't know what happened with Ben.
Apparently it happened.
I got home
quickly.
just in time to catch the overtime, but
no, folks, don't
Dallas
be too hard
and
on
Edmonton.
Pete. I don't think that Peter McNally gets his feelings hurt, and I know he means well. I just don't understand. You've heard us here many, many times say, I think Donald Trump erred here. I think he should be quiet about this. I think he was wrong to do that. You hear that from us all the time. Peter McNally is a very intelligent man, and you never hear him say, yeah, my side screwed up on that one. That is a sure sign of, if you ever tell your spouse, I never do that. Well, you just lied to her, because you do. You do. And that's the surest way to lose an argument, is to be so emphatic that that never, I always, not because I just did these. Yeah. So H.R. Mallory, unedited, he just says, Peter McNally, would you say the same thing if all this was coming up about Don Jr. and Ivanka covering up Trump's mental decline? His unelected staff was using an auto pen to sign stuff? Of course he wouldn't. Peter McNally would be saying, correctly so, who's running the country? And that's all we're saying. It's just that Peter can't say, I know, man, what a gaffe. I had no idea that guy was so deeply in decline.
It's easier to tell us to move on and cover the real news.
Nothing to see here.
Game 56 of the Astros season.
He was a great president. Oh man, are you kidding me? What does it tell you about Kamala Harris' character? I was the last one to leave the room. He was sharp as a tack. You're a liar. You're a liar, Kamala.
She was never the last one to leave the room.
No. I remember when she was in her second year and her hair was falling out and she couldn't stand to be in public and she cackled all the time. And then she said, I think it's a nervous reaction. I'm not used to being lady, you were the Attorney General of California. You were a senator.
You were responsible for the law and order of a state that's bigger than a lot of countries.
She's an idiot. She is a complete idiot and nowhere near as big of ghetto fake appropriating ghetto black woman as Jasmine Crockett. I have heard and been amazed, Ash, at an interview with Jasmine Crockett when she first got elected to the Texas House of Representatives. And this is just like Obama. They find somebody that nobody knows with a little bit of snap, and the Democrats, they just mainstream her straight to the top. That's how did Barack Obama become president? Does anybody ever figure that out? The guy gets elected to one term. He's like, that's our guy, Mr. Hope and Change.
Black guy who was a good speaker.
Yeah.
And the Dems wanted somebody who wasn't going to be old and white.
And they put a couple of billion behind him, and the next thing you know, he's president. Everybody thinks he's a genius and a sage and a statesman. Con man. He's a con man. You people fell for it.
Politician.
Well, then you look at Jasmine Crockett, and she says, they say, Jasmine goes, well, I tell you, I went to law school. I'm just very, very flattered to be in this position. When it came up that the seat was going to be available, I put my name in. I just want to serve the public. I'm here. I'm very humble to be here. She was so articulate. I'm not saying she needs to sound like a white girl, but she dang sure doesn't at home go, that's what I'm talking about, and dropping F-bombs in speeches in public and all that.
It makes you wonder how much of it is an act.
It's all an act, and she's misplaying her cards.
And which is the act? This or that?
I don't know.
Was it an act to get elected, or is it an act now that she is elected? That's the thing. I don't know which one is the disingenuous.
I don't
Jasmine
believe
Crockett
that she could go to and thrive and graduate and pass the bar as an attorney and be this ghetto. I just don't believe it at all. And I find myself wondering what her play is, because as we talked about the other day,
she wants to be the Democratic nominee for president.
No doubt about it, but there's nowhere near enough black people. There's not enough inner city blacks to elect her. That's what's got me.
I don't think there's enough Democrats that would vote for her.
No, you're chasing the wrong crowd.
That's why Gavin Newsom is quietly trying to undo all the damage he's done in California.
Yeah.
He thinks he's going to be the guy.
Can you imagine Newsom Crockett, the Neapolitan Party? I just don't even know. It ain't going to work.
I don't think Gavin will run with Jasmine. I don't know who he'd run with, but it wouldn't be Jasmine Crockett.
Now, see, you want to talk about a conspiracy theorist, but somewhere between what the media told you and what Kathleen Leininger is telling you is the truth. Obama was the CIA's stealth candidate with every bit of his background scrubbed. And there is no doubt about it. You can't find out anything about that guy. That guy, I mean, now it's come out about Soros and his dad and Barry and all the.
I mean, I saw snippets of an interview when CBS and 60 Minutes actually really mattered journalistically. Yeah. Steve Kroft,
Morley Safer, back in the day.
Yeah. Ed Bradley,
Randy Langston. Oh, come on, he grew up poor. They all did. I mean, Kamala worked at a McDonald's, except nobody remembers her because it didn't happen.
Well, she grew up. Yeah.
It didn't happen.
She got bussed.
She grew up in Oakland, except for that time when she was
in Montreal in Mount Royal area of Montreal.
High dollar neighborhood going to private school.
Yeah.
With her two parents who were highly educated.
Yeah.
But now, y'all, we did it in 20. We're going to do it again in 24. Ghetto, fake ghetto, man. That's the worst thing ever. By the way.
But now we're finding out George Soros, Steve Kroft actually asked him questions about him being 14 years old in Nazi concentration camps.
True story.
And working with the Nazis
to
save his ass.
And they asked him, did you feel bad? How did it make you feel? Did you feel guilty when your dad was going around taking property from Jews? And he goes, no, I mean, no, not at all. It's that entitled deal. It's almost like they're rats, they're vermin. Of course, we took their stuff. They don't matter.
But he plays the victim of a Hungarian Jew who survived the concentration camps of World War II.
Liar. Remember that Three Dog Night song? Liar. How about if I throw this at you just as an aside? We've got 2 minutes left in the program. We've been reaching out to local law enforcement folks. I want to give an attaboy to the VPD and the Victoria County Sheriff's Office in conjunction in a joint effort. In the last week, they just kind of casually went over on a local city street and together captured 2 kilos of crystal meth and a kilo of black tar heroin right here in River City. Black tar heroin. You act like, oh, I know these kids smoke a little weed, but I don't think it's a big deal. 2 kilos of meth and a kilo of black tar heroin. hats off to them. We have begun promoting
and taking several alleged child sex offenders off the streets in the last few weeks as well.
Yeah, that's a mess, and that's going to get worse. That situation is going to be ugly.
There's been a few.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't understand if you think that, the kids are all right. They drink a little beer and they might smoke some.
And here's the thing. You don't know what's in that. And I'm not telling you to go, test the meth, but there's probably some fentanyl in there.
Well, we talked last week with Ricky De La Garza in a highly, highly appreciated segment that was just live. He happened to call in that if you don't have some Narcan at your house, you probably need some because
your
these
kid
kids,
buys a joint from somebody and it's laced. Yep.
Or your kid goes to a party and let's just say that everybody there is drinking beer and your son says, no, I'm just going to have my Coke. And he goes to the restroom and somebody goes, all right, let's see how that works for him. They just put a little something in his drink, like a little roofie. They think it's all in fun, but they don't know that roofie's laced with fentanyl and your kid dies. Kid dies. It happens every day in this country. Every day. Educate your kids. I mean, Ricky De La Garza said to me, Brent, I know you don't think this way, and that's why you're susceptible. If you and Dawn are in public and you get up and leave a drink, say, sitting on a bar, and you go to the restroom, he goes, don't drink that drink when you come back. He goes, I'm just telling you, finish your drink before you go to the bar, before you go to the restroom.
I always have.
And you finishing a drink's never a problem.
No,
I mean,
never.
I know that's just part of the, what do you call that? De rigueur. That's just the thing. That's the way it goes down. Is that right? Is that French? De rigueur?
Might be.
I think that means like the standard operating deal. I don't know. But think about that. Your kid's doing what's right. And then let's say he doesn't die. Tremendously sick. Somebody's there with Narcan. The stigma for the rest of his life. Oh, yeah, remember that was that kid that was on drugs. Remember him? I never knew. I thought he was a good kid.
It's a kid that died at that party and the Narcan saved him.
Yeah. Narcan. Find some. You can get it, I think, in almost every pharmacy.
Why aren't EpiPens in every school? We got Narcan in every school. Why don't we have EpiPens in schools too? Then maybe kids could take peanut butter to school again.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like our priorities are weird. And I get it for the first responders that have to deal with somebody who's got fentanyl and they could breathe it in and they're dead because it's that deadly.
They need it.
But our priorities maybe a little screwed up.
He's got it with him. Look.
I'm ready. If you guys fall over,
bunch.
EpiPen ready.
Yeah, I've got a couple myself.
Thank you, Cody.
I don't know. It just seems weird as a society that you've got to pay for an EpiPen, and if you don't have insurance, it costs you a fortune. But we're just going to give Narcan for drug addicts.
Yeah, Randy Langston says, and we'll end the show with this, is there are crazy circles around here, especially those high-functioning druggies. They wear suits and ties, too, so be careful out there.
It ain't just here.
It ain't just here. It's everywhere. But Victoria has deep secrets that most people don't want to talk about. We hope you guys have a great day. It's Monday, folks. Go win Monday. You can't win the week if you don't win Monday. Work harder than everybody. Be glad you're an American, and God bless you. Have a great day.
Bye, folks.
Kicked out of my near every bar around.